Please, we're going to continue the lectures on paragraph writing, and we are reaching the last part. Okay, we are reaching the last part of the lectures. Okay. Now, in this lecture today, I'm going to speak about creating a paragraph. Okay, creating a paragraph. Okay, because if you want to write a paragraph, you don't just start writing the paragraph from the beginning, like you are writing a paragraph. First sentence, second sentence, third sentence, fourth sentence, and this way. Okay? No. There are stages which we need to follow in order to come up with a good paragraph. Now, I'd like to give you a kind of metaphor. For example, the place where you are now. Okay? It looks beautiful, it looks so nice as a building, as a room, right? But the people who built this place, they didn't just come and, it is there for you, okay? No, there were stages, okay? There were lots of stages in there. There was a lot of disorder before coming to this perfect result, okay? Now, this is what we try to do in this lecture today. We try to show you the stages which you need to follow in order to come up with a good paragraph, right? Because what you need to know is that when you are writing, your psychology is involved in it. The brain, when we talk about psychology, we talk also about the brain. The brain is involved in it. And the brain, for a human brain to work in a good way, in order to give good results, okay, it needs to work according to some conditions, according to some stages, right? If you just give it a lot of things and then you want your brain to do it at the same time, it won't work. The result will be not very good. So what you need to do is follow the stages, follow stages. You have to cut, okay? You have to cut, okay? The different steps for writing so that your brain will maximize its results, okay, and its work. Another thing is that, what we are going to see, you need to follow some kind of something that is very common in psychology that is called stimulus response. And in this kind of stimulus response, you need to do a few things in order to help your brain come up with better ideas. For example, as we're going to see right now concerning the first stage, which is narrowing the topic, you need to help your brain. If you have a general topic, very vague, too broad, and you want to make it limited and narrow, you just don't do it like that. No, you can help yourself, you can help your brain do it in better ways. How? Via asking questions to yourself. Okay, as we're going to see. So let me start with this activity in order to show you something concerning what we call process writing, because all the stages we're going to see, they are part of what is called process writing. As an activity, so I give you some statements and then 3 choices for each statement. You choose the one that you think is the most appropriate for that statement. Process writing, what does it mean? Writing in English, don't write this, just give answers. Don't write, just give answers. Writing with a word processor, or writing in several stages or steps. Yes, it is the third one. Process writing means writing in several stages and steps. So you see, this is what we are trying to elucidate in this lecture today. So the answer is writing in several stages or steps. The next statement, before you begin to write, you should finish the homework for your other classes, get some ideas, ask your friends for help. Get some ideas. So you see, we are starting here to introduce you to the steps, okay, the stages. So get some ideas about your topic. Next statement. Your teacher may ask you to read a classmate's paper and answer some questions about it. This is because you can learn a lot by reading your classmate's assignments. Your teacher is too busy to read all the students' papers. You are a better writer than your classmate. Of course, it is the first one. You can learn a lot by reading your classmates' assignments. And that's what I told you in several parts during our lectures. When you try to learn from your classmates, you read your classmates' work, and the same thing, he reads your work or she reads your work. So what you do, you try to complement each other, okay? You help each other because it can help you have better ideas. So the answer, of course, as you said, is you can learn a lot by reading your classmates' assignment. Your teacher may ask you to write another draft. This is because your teacher can't think of any new assignments. The first time your paper was bad, you can make your paper better by making some changes. Of course, it is the third one. So always we're talking here about steps. This is another part of your step. When you finish your draft, you need to improve that, okay? So the answer is, as you said, you can make your paper better by making some changes and improvements concerning language, concerning vocabulary, style, etc. The last statement. Before you hand in your paper for a grade, you should ask your teacher to give you a good grade. Okay, maybe this one. Check it carefully. Put some pretty stickers on it. Check it carefully. This is part of editing, part of improving your work. I'm going to do some measures in here. I'm sorry, but I have to do this. Yes. I don't like to do it, but if you like, I will do it. Okay, everybody? So the answer is check it carefully, right? So before you edit, before you give your paper, you have to check it carefully and then improve whatever you need to improve before you hand in your paper. So now that you have the chance to examine the structure of some good paragraphs, as we have seen in the previous lectures, we have introduced some examples of models of paragraphs, and we have used them as examples of good paragraphs because they include all the elements of a good paragraph concerning the structure. So we showed you where the topic sentence is, and developing sentences, and then the concluding sentence. So the next step, it's time to start thinking about doing some writing of your own. So now you know the structure, you know what is every element of a good paragraph concerning the structure. So now you have to write your paragraph, okay? So this is what we will introduce now. One of the biggest problems most of new writers have is deciding what to write about. Now, therefore, you know, I think that I have to tell you this, that writing is problematic not only for you. It's problematic even for teachers who are writing their books or articles. It's problematic even for professional writers, like novelists, like poets, like all the people, the famous people you know about. When they want to start writing, they go through some difficulty, because writing is difficult. You need to do good, you follow conventions, as we have been telling so far. You need to follow some conventions. Now, one of the things that is concerning you as students that can make it difficult for you, okay, when you want to write, is sometimes that you have some broad topics, okay, some broad topics, too general, and then when you want to start, what happens to you is that you can't start. You don't know where to start. You don't know how to start because the topic is too broad. So, getting started, the first thing is, or rule of writing is to choose a topic that you know something about. For example, if teachers give you 4 or 5 or whatever, how many topics, try to choose the one that you know about. Okay, you know something about, or you know too much about, if that's the case. Right? So, try to choose a topic that you know something about. Another element there that you have to take into account is the topic should be something that you feel strongly about, either positively or negatively. That is to say, for example, I don't know what you like, but if you have one of the topics, something that you like so much, or something that you hate so much, so you can bring your feelings when you are writing about it. And that gives enthusiasm to your writing and makes your writing more interesting for the reader. In addition to the knowledge, you bring enthusiasm in your writing. That's why, if you remember, I was always advising you to write journals and diaries. Journals and diaries. Because in journal and diaries, what are you talking about? You are talking about yourself. And I think that everybody likes himself, right? So when you have that element there, so you will bring some feelings, you will bring some enthusiasm, and it will become easier for you to write. Okay? I will give you the floor to take what is needed, okay? Not now. When asked to write in the classroom, you may create your own topic or pick from a list supplied by the instructor. But usually the teachers give you choices, okay? They give you 2 or 3 choices, prompts, and then you choose one of those topics. Let's assume that you have been given the following list of general topics for 1 paragraph essay or 1 paragraph. These are examples. These are some examples of topics that you have been, for instance, given to you by a teacher, okay? And then you need to write a topic. Right? So you have children, vehicles, animals, sports, vacations. But there is a problem with these kinds of topics. These kinds of topics, and I think that's the impression you might have, they are too broad, too general. Because if you go to a library, you can find a lot of books just about children. Books, not 1 paragraph. The same thing for the others. Vehicles, sports, vacations, and yes. Now, what you need to do as a first step is that you need to narrow, okay, your topic. You need to limit the scope of your topic. And we're going to see now how we can do that, okay? We're going to see how we can do that in concrete steps. So the problem, as we have said, they are much too broad. They are much too general. There is so much to say that you don't really know where to start, okay? As a result, Every sentence you write seems to go around in circles and get nowhere. Usually what happens to students when you have such kind of broad topics and they want to write something, they start writing and then every time they write something, they scratch it. And another one, they scratch it. And then it turns into a kind of frustration, and therefore the writing process becomes something like impossible. It becomes like impossible to write because very simply the topic is too broad and too general. What you need to do is try to limit it and make it somehow specific and precise. Now let's take, for instance, we're going to follow this idea of limiting the scope of the topic using the example of animals as a topic, right? How many animals are there in the world? So that's a problem there. How many different kinds are there? So many. The books on the broad general topic of animals would fill all the shelves in a library. You can have a lot of topics. You can have a lot of books just about the topic of animals. And all you have been asked to write is one single paragraph. So that's why the necessity of limiting the scope of the topic. The solution to the problem is quite simple in the sense that you need to narrow the topic. This means that you choose a tiny, specific area of the topic that contains only enough information to fill one paragraph. If you take the topic of animals, you're not going to speak about all kinds of animals. You need to choose a tiny specific aspect related to animals. A tiny specific area related to the topic of animals. And we're going to see a concrete example. Not all types of animals, not all things related to animals. How do we do this thing called narrowing? So now we are going to start narrowing the topic of animals as an example. You can do that by simply asking yourself a few questions. And you remember I told you the idea of stimulus response in human psychology? Because the brain works that way. The brain, when you stimulate it, okay, it gives you a response. Instead of just thinking in the air like that, generally, it doesn't give you results immediately. Okay? But if you stimulate it, and here we are going to stimulate it via asking a number of questions, okay, related to animals in order to help ourselves narrow the topic of animals. So, take the general topic of animals, for example. Ask yourself, what kind of animals? So, generally speaking, you ask yourself, okay? So, depending on the topic you have, you ask a question. So, for instance, here we can ask a question, what kind of animals? Okay? Or what type, or what... Your answer could be something like house pets. So, you see now how much we have limited the scope of animals? House pets. Okay? House pets, which means the animals you have at home. Okay? So instead of talking about all animals and wherever in the world, so I'm just talking about house pets. But still again, house pets at home, you can have different types of house pets. Okay? But you still need to narrow again. You still need to narrow the scope of this topic further. But there are many different kinds of house pets, all the way from all types of house pets. So therefore, ask yourself again the same question. What kind of house pets? So now you are continuing to stimulate your brain to help your brain come up with concrete, narrow topics. So what kind of house pet? It could be something like house pets with 4 legs, as an example. Okay, as an answer. House pets with 4 legs. I'm not talking about all house pets. I'm just talking about house pets which have 4 legs. But still again, it's also, yes, it needs also to be narrowed further. Because house pets with 4 legs, you can have many kinds of, okay, you can have dogs, cats, you can have hamsters, you can have all types of 4 legs Okay, house pets. So your topic needs to be narrowed further, and you continue the same process again. What kind, what kind, what kind, until you come up with something like more specific. I'm going to move quickly about all this. For instance, I'm going to talk about cats. Again, you continue the process. What kind of cats? I'm not going to talk about all cats in all homes. I'm going to talk as a result of the narrowing process. This one, okay? What kind? And then, if you ask that question, you can have what kind of house pets or what kind of cats, short-haired cats, tabby kittens, and then you can come up with something like my tabby kittens. Okay? My tabby kittens. There are very specific kinds of cats that I have in my home. I'm talking about this. Okay? And this way, you have narrowed your topic. Okay? And therefore, it will become easy for you to write one paragraph about that topic. Okay? So this is very essential step, as a very essential first step in the writing process. Narrowing the topic, limiting the topic. And then you can have something like, my tabby kittens as a good topic now. So now we are done with the first stage. Okay? You can come up with something concrete to talk about. Right? So now this is the first stage, okay? And now we're going to have exercises where we can apply this, okay? We're going to have some exercises. Now after you choose the topic, my tabby kittens, that's the topic, you need to say something about it. You have to find something to say about your tabby kittens. Next. The next thing to think about is something to say about it. Take my tabby kittens as an example, and then ask yourself the same question again. So what about my tabby kittens? What about my tabby kittens? The answer could be something like this. When you answer your question, you will come up with something like this. My tabby kittens are fun to watch. And you can see by doing this, you have come up with a good topic sentence. Because you remember what we said last time concerning the topic sentence, it should include two elements. It should include the topic, okay, and then the idea or the opinion or the judgment about the topic. So this is what we have tried to do so far. So that's the result. Now let's have an exercise. Use the narrowing process you have just read, okay, about to turn each of the general topics below into ones that can be handled in a one-paragraph essay or one paragraph. Be sure to record the various stages of the narrowing process in your notebook. So when you are doing this, you have an example there. So you have examples of topics: children, insects, education, television, health, sports, vacation, summer, nature. All of these kinds of general, broad topics. So you need to narrow them. You have an example, so you simply ask yourself questions, as we have shown you. You ask yourself questions until you come up with a good, specific, narrow, okay, topic. As an example, you have vehicles there for you. That's a general topic. Ask question, what kind of vehicles? Trucks. What kind of trucks? Transport trucks. What kind of transport? 18-wheelers. Right? So please, take some time. Okay, you choose one, just one of those topics there, 2 to 10. Okay, and try to limit it. Choose one that you like, one that you know about, okay, and then try to narrow it via asking some kinds of questions like those in the example, until you come up with a specific narrow topic. Okay? Yes, the floor is yours now. Yes. I just want to emphasize something. Don't say any opinion. Don't say any opinion. Just topic. Okay? For example, one of the students is talking about nature. He says my rivers in Morocco are or whatever. No, the other side won't come. We're going to have another activity where we can say an opinion. For the moment, just focus on the topic. Narrow the topic. Come up with something specific, narrow for you to write just one little paragraph. So, concerning the questions you have here, like what kind of vehicles, for example, if you choose like children, you're not going to ask the question what kind of children. Now the idea is ask a question, okay? Ask a question that can help you narrow the topic. For example, for vehicles, suitable to ask what kind of vehicles. For children, you ask another question. This is just an example. Like for example, they ask questions. What was the result? Again, to help you further, take also the example of animals. Another example in addition to vehicles, we have seen the example of animals. Now, we started asking questions, and the result was my tabby kittens. We don't say anything about that, just narrow the topic. Instead of talking about animals, I talk just about my tabby kittens. And then we will come, at a later stage, we will come to other things, about the opinion. Okay? But for the moment, just the topic. Okay, now let's have a few examples. Yes, a few examples. What is this? Summer. And then what is the result? What is the last specific topic? Narrow topic? No topic sentence, just the topic. I ask you now, just do like the example. Animals, and the specific topic is Miami vehicles. Vehicles, and the specific topic is 18-wheelers. No topic sentence. We are going to come back to this at a later stage. What is the topic now? So, summer. Well, we have summer there. What is the limited topic for summer? Later. Yes. Yeah. Education. Formal education. You still continue. Can you continue further? What kind of formal education? In the rural area, in the urban area, private, public? Try to go further. Yes? So television is your topic. What is the last result, limited topic for you after asking questions? Comedy films. For example, comedy films is one possibility. But again, you can make it more specific because comedy films, you have American comedy films, you have French comedy films, you have Egyptian comedy films. So you can go on. Okay? Yes, please. Very good. That's a good example. Summer or vacation. Vacation. That's a general topic. And what kind? What kind? Until she comes up with my last summer vacation. Okay? My last summer vacation. I'm not talking about all summer vacation for all people. That's too much for me. I'm just talking about mine. And with mine, I have a lot. Last summer vacation. And still you can go further into this, my last summer vacation in whatever country or place. But still, that's a good option, yes? Yes. Family trips to the beach. That's a good example. You can make it again more specific. My last family trip to the beach. Right? Do you see the thing we're talking about? Okay? Yes. And you can speak up, please, to hear you. What is the topic? Which is the topic? What is the topic? Sports, yes? Sports development in Morocco. It is still broad. Okay? Still broad, and you need to make it further. Yes. Yeah, sports. Basketball is my favorite kind of sport. Yes, possible. But don't say any opinion. Basketball. Again, you can make it more specific. Basketball, you have a lot of basketball in the United States or Morocco or which one. Okay? Make it more limited. Okay? Yes, it is. My childhood, yes. But in your childhood, how many years in childhood? 1 year, or 2 years, or 3 years? How much? No, logically speaking. Childhood is like 7 years, something like that. Okay, so 7 years, one paragraph. No, we're asking just about the topic for one paragraph. Make it more specific. Okay, so something specific there. Can you look further? Okay. Yes, sir. Children. Or speak again, speak up. Yes, please, if you don't mind. Can you help me listen? All friends? Friends. Friends or friends? Orphans, yes, orphans will be in, okay. No, that's good. That's a good topic. Instead of talking about all children, you are just talking about orphans. And orphans will be that race. Okay, that's a good topic. Good topic, good topic. Children. Repeating again? Yes. Yes. Okay. A child who has just been born. Okay. Impossible. Sports. Okay, my favorite. Football team, tennis team, or basketball team, or you make it, for example, to make it easy, my favorite football team. So you see, if you just take it my favorite team, my favorite football team. That's a good example for limiting the topic. Yes.
I choose summer.
Summer. Okay, having fun with friends. Okay, in summer. Summer season. Yes. What is the topic? Insects. Spiders. Yes. Spiders. Still broad. Spiders, for example. Which kind of spiders? You have lots of spiders there. Books and books have been written about spiders. Okay. For example, spider in the room where I slept in a hotel, for example, as an example, okay? As an example. Yes, please. If you don't mind, keep up the calm, keep up the quiet, please, to help me listen. Yes. My favorite TV show. Okay, my favorite TV show. Last example. Bees. Yes, bees. So those, and I think now you feel the idea that I want to convey to you. Okay? And I feel that you can feel how you can, okay, limit the scope and of your topic and narrow it. Okay? Because remember, you have one paragraph, only one paragraph to speak about. Now, that's the topic, okay? Now we need to go into the opinion about your topic, right? So, this is what we said last time concerning topic sentence. You need to follow and respect this formula, right? So you need to have the topic. That's what you have done now. You have done the first part of it, topic, and then linking verb. And then you need to now, what you need to do in this exercise you have there, you need to come up with an opinion about the topic that you have chosen and the topic that you have narrowed. And you need to come up with example like that one of those you have on the board. You have, for instance, the first one, triple cheese pizza is delicious. So the topic is triple cheese pizza. The linking verb, and then the opinion is delicious. My noisy neighbors are annoying. Now, this is the part that you need to do in the exercise you have there. Returning to school was scary. Spring throws fishing is relaxing. So all those are good examples of topic sentences in which we respect this formula. So now you have come up with a narrow topic. Now please, can you do the exercise where you create an opinion about each, okay, of your, create an opinion about each of the topics, because I have missed there the idea topics, into each of the topics. So let me correct it. Turn your opinions into interesting, introductory sentences, like a good topic sentence. Something similar to what you have there as the examples. For instance, okay? So, you remember the example we have used for animals? The result of the narrowing process was my tabby kittens. And then the topic sentence is my tabby kittens are fun to watch. The opinion about tabby kittens. And you do something similar now. As an activity. Yes. Raise your hand correct together. Raise your hand and then correct. Now let's have a few examples. Yes, please, a few examples. Yeah. Yes, I want to see now different people, okay? Different people because, you know, to allow most of you to participate. Yes, sir.
Moroccan TV comedy shows are fun to watch.
Moroccan comedy TV shows are fun to watch. Very good topic sentence, very good topic, limited topic, excellent. Yes?
Spiders are a beautiful creature.
You haven't narrowed the topic yet. I told you to still narrow it. Okay? Spiders, because spiders is too many. Try to relate it further. What kind of spider? Okay? Up to you. Do it. And then what was your opinion? What was the opinion? Beautiful creatures. Okay. But then you have to narrow. Okay? Yes, sir? Listen, please. Yes.
Sometimes are the most interesting moments.
Summer times are the most interesting moments. But again, summer times, it's a bit still broad. My summer times, for example, or my last summer time.
In my life.
Yes? In my life, you make it worse when you do that. In my life, you have what? My, for example, what you could do, my last summer time, what was the opinion? Was the most important. Okay? My, can you listen to this example? Another good example now we have. My last summer time was the most interesting. Or the most interesting, or the most funny, entertaining, whatever. Okay? Yes?
Smoking is dangerous for our people.
Smoking is dangerous for our kids. Yes? Good? Yes, please?
Watching TV in the dark is outside.
Yes, watching television in the dark is very dangerous for our eyes. Okay, yes? Okay, can you help me listen? Because I can't listen what you say. Yes, please? Yes, please? Can you listen? Help. Now it's better. Now I can hear her. Yes. Okay, fine. Next one. Yes?
My first trip was boring.
My first trip was boring. Okay, that's a good narrow topic and opinion.
The American Basketball League is
The American Basketball League is
fabulous.
fabulous. Yes, that's a good topic sentence. Yes. Okay, good. Yes.
My last family trip to the beach was unforgettable.
My last trip, family trip to the beach was unforgettable. Yes, some other yes.
The number of children who died
The number of children who die increase day after day. Okay, increase day after day. You make it limited. Oh, that's still a broad. That's fine, but we make it more limited. Yes, Real Madrid football team is great. Or, this is good, but you can make it again more limited. Real Madrid was, in her last football match, was great. You see? You make it more limited, because I just don't talk about last month, not all times, right? Yes, please.
taking bus at 8 years.
Yes, taking the bus at 8 a.m., school bus at 8 a.m. is too difficult. Yes, please. Yeah. Yes, repeat again. Okay. Please listen. When you go out, you can speak as much as you can. Okay? Healthcare is important for people. Again, you still make it more limited because healthcare is okay. Healthcare is a lot of things. Okay, what kind of healthcare? Where? Okay. Yes.
The orange trees behind my home is started by my neighbor.
Okay. The oranges behind my home are cut. My neighbor. Yes. Sports. Sports is the best medicine. Okay, but still you have to make it further limited because here you have different sports to protect your health. You have jogging, you have swimming, you have basketball, and so on and so on. Now let's move on, please. The next stage after this, okay, the next stage is brainstorming. Okay. For instance, let's take the example of tabby cats or kittens. My tabby kittens are fun to watch. So what you need to do now is to try to provide some convincing details, some convincing information to persuade your reader that what you are telling is correct. Okay? But what you have to do before that is do it in the form of brainstorming. What does it mean, brainstorming? It means generating ideas. For example, you can ask again yourself questions. You say that my tabby kittens are fun to watch. You ask yourself why and how. Okay? Why you think that your tabby kittens are fun to watch. So you start just generating ideas and putting them in your notebook or on your draft without paying attention to spelling, without paying too much attention to grammar, sentences, whatever. Just ideas. As an example, you can have something like this. So you see here, in this example, we don't have any sentences. We just have ideas in the form of words, sometimes in the form of phrases, but not sentences. For example, he said that they are cute, loud, white, blue eyes, awkward, like to play, do really funny things, entertaining to watch, etc. So what you are doing here is simply jotting your ideas. You ask yourself questions like why they are fun to watch, and you start answering in the form of ideas, words, or phrases. And you can continue like this as follows. Other ideas that can come to your mind, you just jot down, okay? Just jot down whatever comes to your mind, of course, whatever appropriate, okay? Not just whatever. Whatever appropriate, logical, good, sounds good, and write it on your draft. So next page can go something like this. Do somersaults and play fight. So we're talking here about tabby kittens. That's what the tabby kittens or the small cats, you know, small cats? That's what they do. They fight, they play, okay? They are fun to watch, they are cute, and so on. Sleep with their paws over their noses. Make a mess when they eat. When you have tabby kittens, so when they are together, they make a mess, disorder. Try to jump up but miss. They try to jump but then fall. Like you know, children, babies. Climb the curtains. So what we're doing here is just generating ideas, brainstorming, and putting down these ideas in the form of words and phrases. So this is brainstorming, okay? The next step. Don't start writing your paragraph just like that. So you have to follow this process. If you don't follow this process, it is difficult for you. Only professional people don't really do this. But for you, at this stage, as students and first semester students, you need to follow these stages. And then by the practice, by the time, by maturity, by experience, by knowledge, you can reach that level where you can start directly somehow. Okay, writing whatever you want to write. Sure? So, the next step is brainstorming. Now, after you do the brainstorming, you start the next step. So, in the brainstorming, we saw that there were only words, phrases. Okay? You try to start improving that in the form of creating suppose for your opinion. So, brainstorming for ideas will give you something to say. When you do brainstorming, it gives you something to talk about. Ideas, words. So you have it in front of you. You know, we are talking again about human brain, human psychology. And human psychology, it can understand abstract things. It can deal with abstract things. But when you have concrete things, it's much better for the human brain to work. So when you do the brainstorming in your draft, you have things there. So the human brain, okay, digests that. And then you come up to the next step now, which is creating support for your opinion. But to be effective, the writer needs to support opinion with, of course, proof. I'm going to move directly to example. So you need to provide something convincing, okay? Convincing for your reader. Let's have apply this for the example of my Tubby kittens. So now the brainstorming we have seen there in the draft, you can start formulating it somehow again. My Tubby kittens are fun to watch. Okay, let's move on. Pick 3 funny things from the list of the brainstorming. What you are going to do, you are not going to write everything you have done in your brainstorming. You start selecting the best ideas, okay, and then put them. Now, this is an example. Playing, fighting, chasing a catnip mouse, climbing the curtains. Okay? These are some of the supporting opinions I'm going to include in my paragraph. But then for these supporting opinions, this is good so far, but if you want your reader to be more convinced, try to provide him with a little bit of detail concerning these supporting opinions. And how you're going to do that, here is an example for you. For each support, the supports you have there, include some specific details. Example. So, the first supporting idea there, which is play, fighting, I'm going to provide some specific details. For instance, rolling and somersaults, falling off things. These are some specific details you can include in your paragraph to support the idea of playing fighting. Because when these Tubby kittens are playing fighting, what happens? They are rolling and then they fall off things. Okay, they make disorder. The next support there, which is playing with a catnip mouse, they start jumping and twisting. And then climbing mom's best curtains, can't figure out how to get down, because this is a specific detail. Because if you think about if you have ever had the experience of having Tubby kittens or kittens at home, when they climb something, somehow they are trapped. And they don't know how to go down, right? So they are trapped. And then when they are trapped, they start meowing. That's specific detail. Okay? In order to support the idea of climbing the curtains. Climbing the curtains. Okay? So be careful about this. For the supports that you are providing, try to provide some details. Do you see the point? So you have the topic sentence. My Tubby kittens are fun to watch. Then ask yourself the question, why? And then do the brainstorming ideas. After you do the brainstorming, you start selecting. And then you come up with something like this. Supporting ideas. And then specific detail for each supporting idea. Right? Now you have created a plan for a 1 paragraph. After you do this, you have created a plan for a 1 paragraph essay or a 1 paragraph just by making a list of the ideas you will use to support your opinion. I'm going to give you some time to write this, okay? Because it will serve you as a model to follow all the time when you are writing a paragraph. Try to take notes of this and put on the top of that, put the topic sentence, my Tubby kittens are fun to watch. Tubby kittens are fun to watch, and then you write those notes. Okay, now the next activity. You can have it later on the video, and in the blog you will have the PDF documents there. Okay? The next step is creating a satisfying ending. Okay, now as I said when I was talking about the developing the structure of the paragraph concerning the concluding sentence, I said that what do you do there? You restate the main idea mentioned in the topic sentence. Okay, you paraphrase that. You say that in other words. So for instance, we have my tabby kittens. Okay. My tabby kittens are fun to watch. This is the topic sentence. Now what I should do is paraphrase that. And you have an example there of one way of paraphrasing it. No matter what do they do, I'm always entertained when I watch my 2 tabby kittens. It's the same idea, but mentioned in different words. Now the next activity there for you to do, using the topics you narrowed in the previous exercise, each one of you has chosen a topic, you have narrowed the topic, you have stated an opinion about your topic. Now what you should do is brainstorm, generate ideas, okay, concerning, okay, that topic. Using the topics you narrowed, brainstorm a list of ideas for each opinion that you might include in a paragraph to persuade someone, the reader in general, to agree with you. For each list, put an asterisk beside the 3 points that will be best, okay, will best support your opinion. You do something similar to the example of my tabby kittens there. We have taken 3 supporting opinions or ideas. For each supporting idea, some specific details, and you put an asterisk before each one, okay? First one, asterisk, supporting idea, and then detail. Asterisk 2, supporting idea, detail. Asterisk 3, supporting idea, some detail. This is your exercise. You have to start right now. Yes, please.